Welcome to the For Honor, For Beginners 2021 tier list. Characters will be generally higher on the tier list if they have the following. Combos that rely heavily on light attacks, dodge attacks, unblockables, and lots of range. Characters will be generally lower on the tier list if they have no range, combos that rely on heavy attacks, slow unblockables, and characters that are generally slow overall. So let's begin, and let's just go in the order of the character select screen inside the game. So starting off with Warden, he has good range, he has fast unblockables, but he only has about 2 light attacks per combo, so he can't dish out damage that much. But he's got great range, and he can open up combos with his fast unblockables. I'd say he's a solid mid-tier. Good for beginners overall, pretty decent for a default character. Next up we have Peacekeeper. Generally, she has no range. She does have a dodge attack, but because she has no range, she needs to get up close and personal to deal damage. And as a beginner, you shouldn't be worrying about your movement and getting closer to your opponent. You should let a character's range do that for you, like Warden and his longsword. So Peacekeeper, I'm going to have to put her in D tier for now. Next up, we have Centurion, the Roman soldier. And generally, Centurion, similar to Peacekeeper, doesn't have a whole lot of range. He uses more of a bastard or kind of like large dagger kind of sword. And he has great combos, but as a beginner, you should be more so worried about spamming light attacks and learning combos later. For now, I'm going to have to put Centurion in D tier. I'll also clarify right now, to the left of a certain tier means higher within that tier, and to the right means lower within that tier. So lower. Centurion is lower than Peacekeeper in this sense. The next character is Black Prior. So Black Prior, the Crusader, he has a bit more range than Centurion. He has a shield, so whenever he goes to attack or dodge, he has an advantage. He's great at blocking. He has an all block, which is where you basically can't be attacked from any direction, and you have to either wait to get grabbed or your opponent attacks you for anything to happen. Overall, a pretty good character. He aggresses for free, meaning that when he goes to attack, his shield is like put up first, and then he swings out with his sword. So you're pretty safe on the offensive side, on the aggression side. Pretty great character for beginners. And he can dish out good damage too. I think he attacks in 2s as opposed to 1s or 3s. So his combo, he can throw out 2 light attacks per combo. Next up, we have Griffin. So Griffin has great range. He can throw out 3 light attacks per combo, which is very good for dishing out damage. He has a dodge attack, and his block is pretty good. I'd say he's S tier. Dodge attack, great range, can dish out a lot of damage. Everything I said that makes the character good, for beginners at least. He's good for pros too, but lesser so. He gets kind of predictable at higher ranks. Next up, Conqueror. So Conqueror is just slower Black Prior. Black Prior is faster, has a bit more range, and just better combos overall. Conqueror, with his lack of range, you need to play defensively as this character. He's also slower than most characters. He has a great unblockable with his shield, and he has all the pros of Black Prior's shield, in that he has amazing defense, he can kind of aggress for free, but because he has no range, it's hard to do. I'm going to have to go ahead and put Conqueror in low B tier for now. Next up, Lawbringer, the first Juggernaut, but also hybrid of the game. He's pretty bad for beginners. One, his combos only have like 1 or 2 light attacks in them, most of the time just 1. And he relies heavily on his environment. In For Honor, you can push opponents into walls or off of cliffs, which is Lawbringer's specialty. And if walls and cliffs aren't near you, then Law's pretty bad. You can't dish out damage really well. With that, I'm going to have to put him in low D tier. He relies too heavily on heavy attacks and everything else. Next up, we got Gladiator, the Roman Gladiator. So he's got good range. He has a dodge attack. However, he can't block very well. I would have to put him in D tier for now. Maybe I'd say better than I'd say the king of D tier for now, top of D tier. Then we have Warmonger, also known as War Mommy. She's pretty good. She has a lot of range. You can even see how big her longsword is in this picture. She has a dodge attack that is also unblockable. So when she goes to dodge attack, it can't be blocked. It goes straight through someone's shield or sword. It's incredible. She's pretty fast. She has an unblockable that just comes out almost instantly. Very fun to play. She has like bleed and plague, which means she does extra damage. It's very nice. Very, very nice. S tier for sure. I'd say, if I could tie characters, I'd say she's tied with Griffin right now. This guy. And now next up, Raider. Ooh, this is an amazing character for beginners. So, like a lot of Vikings, he has super armor on his heavy attacks. I said before that heavy attacks generally aren't good, but if your heavy attack has extra perks like unblockable or undodgeable or super armor, then generally that's pretty good. And Raider for beginners is amazing. I'd say Raider is actually, I'd say right now better than Black Friar in terms of A tier. Because for beginners, the only thing you should be worried about is just clicking and throwing out attacks and occasionally blocking when you're getting comboed. That's it. That's all the gameplay loop for beginners revolves around. At higher levels, you're going to want to worry about dodging, parrying, faking, feigning, comboing, and all that other stuff. But Raider, you can quite literally just button mash and you'll do pretty damn well. As long as you do heavy attacks from time to time. Because again, his heavy attacks most of the time are uninterruptible. Amazing for beginners. You can quite literally just spam away. So if you like Vikings and battle axes and, you know, having lots of range and also having extra health, Raider has a lot of health. Very good for beginners. Next up, in the Vikings, we have what I believe is Berserker. It looks like it. You'll notice that some of the Vikings look very similar in some portraits. But with Berserker, whoever she may be, here he is. Berserker is one of the few characters where you can customize the gender to either be male or female. So we have the female picture here and then the male variant here. But Berserker, I'm actually going to say, is... I'd say Berserker is bottom of B tier, borderline king of C tier. No, I'll say B tier because, similar to Raider, his heavy attacks are uninterruptible. They have super armor, meaning that you can throw out a heavy attack, and if you get attacked during that animation, your attack still goes through and just does a shit ton of damage. But the reason I wanted to put him in C tier is because he has no range. He's an assassin that has no range, and you have to play up close. You need to worry about your movement. Generally isn't very good for beginners. Moving on, we have Highlander. Very interesting character. So he has one of the largest swords in the game. He's from Scotland. His heavy attacks deal extra damage. They're uninterruptible, like a lot of the other Viking faction characters. And he's pretty fun. If you want to swing the biggest sword in the game and to do lots of damage, but also be kind of slow, he's the character for you. I'd say he's bottom of A tier right now. He's, again, amazing range. You don't need to worry about movement. You're great at defending. You can let the opponent, push you, but you can attack from basically anywhere. He's got some great unblockables. You do need to learn his combos, but he's generally pretty easy overall. Next up, we have Warmonger. I hope I'm not pronouncing that incorrectly, but not that good. She doesn't have a whole lot of range. I'm going to put her in C tier for now. She has a fast punch, a fast unblockable that comes out very fast. You cannot react to it or predict it, which makes it pretty good. But otherwise, she has no range. She relies on heavy attacks, which are pretty slow, and that's about it. Oh, also no dodge attack. Very bad. Next up, Warlord. So Warlord is arguably one of the best in the game right now for pros, but for beginners, I'd argue he's mediocre for beginners. I'd put him in B tier, like mediocre, average, melancholy. But overall, probably no. I'd put even lower than Warden because Warden has range. Warlord doesn't have range. You can't see it from this picture of him, but he actually has a short sword. The sword ends right here at the end of the picture. It's not very good. He does have a shield, so he can block attacks and aggress for free, And he has one of the fastest unblockables in the game. Actually, I think he has the fastest unblockable in the game. You cannot react to it. It's amazing. Actually, for his unblockable alone, I'm going to put him on top of B tier. The moment you, as a new player, learn how to do his unblockable, you're going to get attacks for free. He's very good in that regard. And his shield lets you do it for free, too. Next up, we got Valkyrie. So Valkyrie has lots of range, has a shield, has a dodge attack, has good block stance, so she can block attacks and she can attack afterwards, which is very nice. She has an all block that acts as an unblockable. She has everything. She's amazing for beginners, bad for pros because her unblockables aren't that fast, but I would put her in... You know what? Yeah, I'm actually going to bring her down to A tier just because of that last thing I said. Her unblockables aren't fast. That's the only thing keeping her from being S tier, is that her unblockables are predictable. But otherwise, great range, has a shield, is very fast. She's got everything she needs. Dodge attacks, spam those, spam dodge attack. You'll be fine with this character. Oh, also a 3-hit combo. She has a 3 light attack hit combo, so you can dish out lots of damage. Next up, wait, do I consider top of A tier? Yeah, I consider her top of A tier. She's very good for beginners. Next up, we have Shaman. Another crackhead character. If you want to button mash, she's pretty good. However, she doesn't have a lot of range, so you will miss a lot of your attacks. She is unique in that she heals off of bleeding opponents. So if you do a combo that has a bleed special effect, then you can heal off of it, which is very nice. She also has an attack that allows you to tackle opponents and then bite them, which, again, crackhead energy right there. Really good. It also closes the gap on her otherwise really bad range. Like, again, she can't reach opponents. So, not bad, but the lack of range really hurts her. I'd put her in, like, C tier. Probably arguably better than Warmonger, because at least Shaman has a dodge attack. She has a dodge attack. Next up, we get into the Samurai. And we start with Kenzai. So we got Kenzai right here. I'd say he's S tier. He has a huge sword, almost as big as Highlander. Has a 3-hit light attack combo. Has an unblockable off the top. Has a punch. Has a great grab. Actually, no, he's a pretty bad grab, but that doesn't matter because he also has a dodge attack. He has a dodge attack, which makes him very, very good for beginners. And I'll leave it there. Great. If you like Samurai, he's the go-to Samurai. Very fun to play. And the next go-to Samurai, if Kenzai isn't your taste in Asian warriors, we have Orochi. Orochi is phenomenal. I'd actually say she is the best character in the game for beginners. Bad for pros, but the best for beginners. Great for beginners because you only have to worry about attacking, and that's it. You don't need to worry about blocking if you know how to constantly spam light attack, which is going to be unhealthy later on, but for starting out, it's going to be amazing. You're going to get free kills left and right off this character. She has a dodge attack that does a lot of damage. Her light attacks chain into each other, so you have like a pseudo-infinite, like you can attack 3 times uninterrupted, then do it again, with a small window in between. Her zone attack is the fastest in the game. Her dodge attack is the fastest in the game. She's also the fastest character in the game in regards to movement speed. She's very, very fast. Great character. Also good range, too, by the way. She has good range despite being an assassin. That's her only drawback, is that she has assassin stance, but so she can't like take blocks really well, but that doesn't matter because you should only be attacking as this character, and you're going to get hits for free. So stick to it, and you'll do just fine as Orochi. Next up, we got Shinobi. So Shinobi, I'd say he's hard to learn, but he's a good character. He's unique in that he's one of the few characters in the game that has a command projectile. Like, he can throw his weapons at his opponent whenever he wants to. But otherwise, I don't know. I want to put him maybe top of B tier, borderline A tier, because it's very easy to learn his combos, which makes him good. He has infinite range, theoretically speaking, that you can basically throw your projectiles at people anywhere you want. You can charge them up too for more damage. Yeah, I'd say King of B tier because he also has a dodge attack that's unblockable. So Warmonger has a dodge attack that's unblockable. It's very good. He has a dodge attack that's unblockable that is also borderline invincible. So when you do the dodge attack, it's hard to hit you. But he has no range, which is what's keeping him from A tier and S tier. He has no range at all. It's pretty bad, excluding his projectile. So like, If you go for melee attacks, you have no range, but if you go for projectiles, you have all the range in the world. But that takes timing and such. So Shinobi B tier. Next up, we got Hirokiri, the ugly character, but also very fun, very satisfying. Maybe she's not ugly, depends who you ask. She has a humongous battle axe, medium range. Her heavy attacks deal extra damage. Her heavy attacks, if you charge them up, have unblockable. She has a dodge attack. She has a slow, unblockable kick. It's kind of predictable. I'd say she's somewhere in A tier, but her attacks are slow. That's the only thing keeping her back from being higher in A tier. Next up, we got Shigoki, the best heavy character in the game. So, Shigoki's slow. He's a heavy character. His combos rely on heavy attacks, not light attacks, so he can only do like one heavy attack, then his combo's over, which is pretty bad for beginners. Amazing for pros, because pros know how to play him. But for beginners, I'm going to say steer away from this character. He's like bottom of C tier. The only redeeming factor is that, similar to Hirokiri, if you charge up his heavy attacks, they become unblockable. And he has some unblockables, but they're just really slow. And then we have Boshi, an amazing character for beginners. Boshi has a sphere that has one of the, I think, the longest range in the game. So, unlike Highlander, who has the longest sword in the game, he doesn't theoretically have the longest range. Theoretically, Boshi has the longest range because she uses all of her sphere when you fight her. I'd actually argue that Boshi is top of A tier because, one, she has a 3-hit light attack combo, so you infinitely just stab people at range. And that's about it. She also has bleed, so she can do extra damage. Whenever you're spamming light attack, your opponent starts to bleed and lose health slowly, which is very nice. But it's not good in the moment. It's more so over time. Like if your fight lasts a long time, then bleed's very good, but otherwise not very good. The only thing holding her back from S tier is she doesn't have a full dodge attack. Also, if an opponent blocks your attack, they get an attack for free. Like her block isn't very good. And that's about it. But otherwise, amazing range, comboed with great damage output and great combos. That makes her A tier. Next up, we got Aramashu, the rice farmer. He's pretty good. I'd say he's somewhere in S tier. He has a dodge attack. He has an infinite, despite being an assassin who has some less range. He has a normal block, meaning he isn't fragile. Like other assassins, if they try to block an attack, they kind of crumble under the attack, especially if it's a heavy character. Not Aramashu. For whatever reason, despite being like a thin, small dude with assassin blades and whatnot, he can tank attacks, which is really weird. And that's about it. He's got a dodge attack, an infinite, and also an all block. So you're essentially invincible if you do the all block at the right time, which is amazing. Do that. Next up, we got Kaishin. So Kaishin, the newest character in For Honor, is pretty good, but his attacks are kind of slow and predictable. Beginners and pros alike will learn this character how to fight against him very fast, so you're going to be kind of predictable. But he has good combos for beginners, so I'd put him alone in B tier. Also, he shares a lot of things with Aramashu in that he has an all stance, he has a dodge attack, he has a pseudo infinite attack, but not as good as Aramashu. He's discount Aramashu, but worse. Next up, we got, in the Wulin characters, we have Tiandi. So we got Wulin Clan and the Tiandi. Tiandi's here, who's posing really weirdly for some reason. I think he's putting his hands forward in this little taunt. Tiandi relies on his environment. If there isn't a cliff or a wall nearby, he can't deal damage. We mentioned earlier with Lawbringer, this guy right here. He relies on his environments. You need a wall or cliff nearby to deal heavy damage, which Tiandi needs, and he's reliant on. Tiandi has a dodge attack, but he has slow heavy attacks. I'd put him somewhere in like low C tier. Not that good. For beginners at least. Great for pros, not good for beginners. Next we have Ningxia, not Nokia, Ningxia. Ningxia is pretty bad because she has no range. Her heavy attack is slow. She has a special ability where she can break the shield or sword of anyone she grabs at, but it's slow and at higher levels it gets predictable. Overall, not good. She does have a dodge attack, and she's an assassin. But otherwise, no range really hurts her, and she can't block attacks. She's an assassin, so she kind of crumbles under weight. Next up, we got Zanhu. So, he's goated. He's very good. He only has 2-hit combos, but his second attack is always unblockable, which makes it nearly impossible to react to. So, like, Zanhu hits you once, and then you know for a fact that the second hit is going to be unblockable, but you can't do anything about it because it's so fast. You can try and dodge, but you're going to get hit half the time, and take a lot of damage. Or you can try and parry it, but it comes out very fast, so it's nearly impossible. He's very good for beginners, because you can literally just spam and button mash, and you'll win this character. You can learn some combos if you want to bring him to higher tiers, but otherwise you don't have to. This character is amazing on his own. Still within the Wulin, we have the only heavy character of the Wulin faction. It's Janjun. I probably butchered that name. But Janjun is, he's bad for beginners. He's good in, pro league because you can learn some complex combos and shit. But otherwise, I'd put him at bottom of D tier for beginners. Again, good for higher ranks, bad for beginners. Okay, so it's interesting. He's a heavy character, but he has a dodge attack, but it's slow because he's heavy. He relies on heavy attacks, and he has like a stance attack, but it doesn't work half the times. He's just a really weird character, and I don't recommend beginners learn him. He's got good range. If you like, big spears, or being a juggernaut, then maybe he's the one for you. Otherwise, I'd say steer away from him. Last but not least, but not that good overall, is Shaolin. Shaolin has good range, but he has complex combos and a completely different fighting style than the rest of the cast. He has 2-hit combos in that if you hold down an attack after you land an attack, you go into like a stance, and then you have to react to like what your opponent does. It's really weird and complex for players to learn. But if you do learn it, he's an amazing character. Also super fun to play. But that's the thing. You need to put in work to make him good. So I'd say overall, not that good overall. And that's it for For Honor up until modern day, 2021, August. And yeah, the most recent character was Kaishin. We covered all of them. This tier list is actually very even. I like this a lot. I'll definitely have to save this. But otherwise, keep in mind, spam light attack, block when you need to, and that's about it. Characters in S tier can spam attack very well. They have combos that allow them to do that for free. They have dodge attacks, which allows them to deal damage for free. They have some unblockables that are pretty damn good. They can block really, really well. They have good range, so you don't have to worry about anything else, which makes them amazing for beginners. And then characters lower down the tier list have either slower moves or no range, or they're just too weird for beginners. Like, I'd argue that Gladiator here, he's good for beginners. It's just that he's too weird for players to learn. Like, he can't block. If you keep your distance, he can't do much. His combos rely on you being close. Like, he's the only character I argue doesn't deserve to be in D tier because he's pretty damn good overall. But I'm gonna leave him here solely because he's complex. And that's the thing is pros are going to hate this tier list because it's ass backwards. Characters down here are generally great for top tier play. Then characters up here are generally bad for top tier play. But starting out, they're amazing button matchers. They're amazing dodge attackers. They're fast. They have great unblockables. And then characters down here, they require more skill for play. But you listening to this video as a beginner, you should only be worrying about fundamentals of attacking and blocking, and then worry about parrying, faking, dodging, ganking, everything else, and then you can worry about these better characters down here. So that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed. Pick a character to either your heart's content, what's easy to learn, or how cool they look, Like, when I got into For Honor, I was like, oh, I love spears in, medieval warfare. I thought the spears were so cool, so I actually started out with Valkyrie right here. And little did I know, she's amazing for beginners, but as I played more and more, I realized she's not good for professional play. So when I got past, 20 hours or so, I picked up Warden. And he's actually really good for top tier play. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed. Pick a character either based on how cool they look or where they are here, or an actual tier list. Screw my tier list. But other than that, enjoy.